Good morning. Good morning. Let's see who's on here. We're gonna try this out. I'm going to share the BoldTrail in just 1 second. Stand by. Thank you all for coming to Tech Training Tuesdays. We're gonna get started. It's actually 9:02, so if you join in late, feel free to ask your questions and get rolling. We're here to support you guys and want to make sure that you're getting the training and tech you want from your brokerage. I'm going to log into BoldTrail real quick. Maybe. Beautiful. Here we go. And then we're going to share. Okay. So you guys should be able to see the dashboard. Here's what it looks like when you log in. I'm hoping y'all can see this. Here, just stand by. One more second. Oh my gosh. There we go. Okay, so we're logged in. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be rough. I might need to grab some water. Someone's having trouble getting in. Okay. Beautiful. It's gonna be a rough morning for everybody. It's like a Monday almost. Can you all see the mouse? We're good on this too. Okay, so this is probably where the video should start. So thank you all for joining Tech Training Tuesday. We're gonna go ahead and get started. And if you guys have any questions, of course, feel free to chime in and we can even stop what we're doing, jump into something else if you want. The way we have this set up is we can segment this out and make it different clips as to what we're actually talking about. So if we need to talk about Follow Boss, we need to talk about BoldTrail. It seems like most people, BoldTrail is probably the #1 underutilized and or undertrained on topic. So we're going to start with that. And I'm just going to run through it slowly. So follow along on your phones, follow along in person, whatever it is that you need. Make sure that you're asking questions. So this is what it looks like right when you log in. Some of these might look a little different. Your settings might look a little different just because I have admin settings from the operations side of things. That way I can go in and tweak whatever it is you guys are having issues with and continue to fix anything that needs fixing. So first thing you're going to do is log in. You're going to see the dashboard. The second thing down is pipeline. And this kind of gives you a rundown of everything that the office is working on. Now, this should be the goal for everybody, right? To have this many deals in their pipeline. Now, and even for the brokerage, a lot more, obviously. But this is what it could look like. Your transactions in here. This is everybody in the office. And you can, depending on what you're seeing, you can sort these by different things. You can sort, maybe you have a team. Maybe you have different people and they're helping you. Here is the contacts. I would like to just point out that we need to make sure that every time in here, when we're creating a contact, which we can do now. Let's just create a mock-up one real quick. And we're going to do a test contact, just so that we can use this contact all the way through and continue forward. So let's just for example, let's say that this is a buyer, and let's do first time home buyer here so that we can walk this all the way through. Now you can see up here that it's potential type of contact. It could be an agent, it could be a broker. If it's a client and it's a client of yours, we're going to select client and then available to me only. I don't want everyone to have access to this. Now, reasons why we might have access to everyone, right? Everyone might want access to maybe my broker or an agent so that we don't have to keep putting those contact information in the contact information in every single time. Same thing with an appraiser. Mainly everybody besides your clients, right? Clients or leads, you're going to make private, and then everybody else you're going to make available to everyone if you want. If you don't want to, completely understand. You have that potential to make everyone private if you'd like. So now that we have a first-time home buyer in here, we're going to go ahead and create this. Now, I'm just going to put first-time home buyer here. Oh, home buyer at, let's do hotmail.com. Now, we're not going to send anything here, but we're going to show you why we put that in. You can also put the rest of this in if you want, completely up to you. So go ahead and create that on this blue create button. Now that that's in there, we can create that in a transaction. I just want to run through the personal reports. You guys can add certain things in there if you wanted to. Now, if you have any questions on any of like the reporting, we can set that up for you. Most people are going to deal right in here along the transactions and pipeline side of it. I do want to touch on library real quick, just because there's a couple different things in the library. This one is ours specifically, okay? These are our forms, and you can access these a couple different ways, but the first and easiest one is library over here. And then we have a Realty HQ, Utah Association of Realtors library. Now this is specific documents from the UAR that we've already altered. Now we've mapped this for you guys. It looks a little bit different than what BoldTrail has done. So this is the one we're normally going to use, and I'll also walk you through that in just a second. So if we go through here and we want to start a transaction from your dashboard, you would just go ahead and click transactions. Now on your phone, it's a little bit different. There's actually a transaction tab, but we're going to go ahead and create, and we're going to search the MLS. Now, the reason why I do that is because if you hit create transaction and you create new, it's going to start everything from scratch. You're going to have to put in every detail. So this is just kind of a cheat code, I guess, and or a more fast and efficient way to do it. So just because I know this one's in here, we're going to use this one for a trial, just so that we can see. We can see that it is at 15524 Trumpet Lane, Bluffdale. It's currently for $494,900. Now, you can see that if I only put in Trump, if I do this again, maybe you don't have the whole address. It'll still search for you. Now, this would be a really good idea to kind of trial and error this real quick. If I put in just the address here and search, it may take a while because it's searching. The numbers side of things has to search through a ton more. There's way more address numbers to search through. There's less names. There's less street names called Trumpet or Trump, right? So that's what I would always err on the side of caution with, is just the street name, whatever you can remember. And so I'm going to go ahead and select this to get it started. And you'll see that it's pulled a ton of information that is going to be used in one, the contract, and two, the back office, so that we only do it once, right? I don't have to put this information in once. So you'll see that most of this is the information the MLS already pulls. And it's also going to pull inclusions, exclusions, license IDs, all of this, right? So admit, we're going to go ahead and put this together. It looks like, hey, Bob, how are you?
Hey,
Just going through a brokerment training. Is there anything that you want to focus on specifically, or you're just kind of here to take notes?
Everything.
Okay, perfect. Love it. Well, let me know if you have any questions. We're just in the middle of a new transaction or submitting a new transaction. So,
I'm listening.
okay, perfect. So we're going to go ahead and select buyer and go through it looks like it's pending. Now, if it wasn't, if it didn't have a buyer's agent, we would put our information in there right now. However, it looks like maybe it's under contract and we'll see that in a second. So I checked yesterday, it wasn't. So this is really good information and I'll show you where it will put it into our contract. So let's go ahead and move forward. We're going to say we're going to represent the buyer on this and offer reference date of today. Now it wants a whole bunch of different information because we're pending. If we're just active, you'll see that a lot of that goes away. Now we're going to do a test in here just so that compliance can see that we're just testing this out. It's asking built before 1978. We're going to say no. So we don't need lead-based paint. And I normally put owner of record here. Sometimes you don't know the seller's name. So earnest money deposit. This is one of my favorite things that we've added is earnest money deposit. It's actually going to it's going to ask you for it because then it's going to put it in the contract. So, and same thing here. So additional earnest money, just to show you guys, I'm going to put $10 here. We're going to do a down payment of, let's say 50K. Actually, to make it easy, we're going to do 80,000 here, seller financing of 0, and an offer purchase price of whatever they were asking. Actually, let's make it less than they were asking. So you can see that it's a little bit different. So up here, you'll see that they're asking 494,900. Down here, we're just going to say 494. So if you can remember these numbers, you'll see that it automatically loads it into the contract for us. So let's balance of purchase price as well. I think this will be calculated for us. So I'm going to leave that blank, but we're going to move forward anyway. So we don't want to save that. Also here, we can put in 40% just to show you guys where it's going and how this is a leverage for you guys. So I'm going to put me in here just so we're not bugging Kayla and move forward. So now that we have everything in on the compliance side, right? Like we've just loaded this in the back office. We could now go to our checklists over here on the left-hand side. We click on residential checklists. A whole bunch of these are going to be red because I should have had a buyer packet done before I went under contract, right? So it's going to say, well, where are these things? Now, because all of us at Realty HQ work in a really timely and code of ethics manner, the buyer packet's already done. So we're just going to go ahead and use that. However, if we loaded this and we didn't have it, maybe we don't even have the reps yet, we can just hit use forms and it's going to load everything that we need for us, right? Just click through this real quick. Buyer number 1, we're going to put first time home buyer here. First time home buyer. Buyer's agent, we're going to put Daniel. Now, here's the important part as well. When you're going through this, if you use the user or the contact may not have some of your information, but the user, because we control that, the user is going to have all the information as far as the agents are concerned. If you're putting an agent in, make sure that it says user. Okay. And then buyer here, we're actually going to get rid of buyer 2 just to show, or actually let's leave it open so you can kind of see how that works. We go ahead and hit next. Now it's already pre-populated, right? Similar way that the MLS fills it in, except it's in your back office already. And down here, you'll see that it's already pre-populated for signatures. So Realty HQ, first time home buyer is the buyer. Now you're still going to have to put in certain dates in here, obviously. And then I would also fill these in, right? Located at, maybe we're doing a specific property, right? Like, you can click that. And then I would also just address these with 3 dashes to show that you've addressed them. We're We're going to put this as an end date real quick. And it's as easy as that, right? And then you could send for signatures. Now, because buyer 2 is not filled out, if I go ahead and send for e-sign, it'll say buyer 2 is not filled out. So if I delete this and then hit send, it will delete the buyer 2 out of it. So we're going to save and close this real quick. That's how you would load that. However, we're going to go to the Repsy real quick to show you where those were loaded into, right? So you'll see that this real estate purchase contract is pulling from the company library and not the UAR one. If we wanted to, I can show you that later in a deeper dive, but for now, we're just going to use this one. Go ahead and click next. We're going to do first time home buyer here and Daniel as the user. We're going to get rid of buyer 2. And then next. So here it pre-populated owner of record, that's the seller. This is the buyer. The same way that the MLS does it, right? It put in our $5,000 earnest money. It put in the address, tax ID, inclusions and exclusions are already in here. So you are still going to have to check your boxes, right? There are not additional items, right? So these are excluded. It put in our 494 instead of 494, 900. And then it's also done some calculations for us. So it put in our $5,000 earnest money, $10 of additional earnest money, $80,000 of purchase price, and then it calculated the new loan for us. So this is one of my favorite things because not even the MLS does this. It'll calculate all this for us and put it in. So I think that's a huge bonus. Good job, Realty HQ. And then on this side, you're still going to be checking your boxes, right? So is conditioned. And I may go through and change this and make it that these are already pre-populated from the buyer side of things. And then if you want to change it, you can just come in here and change these before you send it. I do think it would be easier for us as agents if it was already done and it was a super strong buyer's contract. That way we didn't have to come through and recheck all these boxes. But you'll see a lot of these dashes are already in here, right? So it looks like some of these are already pre-filled, which is good. This will just continue to keep getting better and better, but we still want you guys to be double checking everything, right? So right here it says the brokerage compensation. It did put in my 40%. Now, I don't recommend doing 40%, obviously. However, everyone has a little bit different business model. So you'll see it put in my information here because I'm a user. And this one up here is a little bit weird on this because of how the agent has their stuff set up in the MLS. But normally all of these things are pre-populated in here for you. So just keep note of that and it's ready for signatures and ready to go, right? This could also be addressed in a addendum. Now we don't want to, obviously, we want it already pre-populated and ready to go for us. So due diligence is conditioned. Some of these are already checked. So let's say though that you wanted to change some of these, like you wanted to change this $10. You could come in here and change it right here, right? You could put 50. It's as easy as that. However, if you're pre-filling in before you do the contract, everything will pre-populate for you that you put in. So this could be yes or no, right? And some of these say buyer's agent that you're going to fill it out when it's sent for signatures to you. If that's the case, you can just hit fill now and you can fill it in right now. So it's a simple, quick, easy fix and then just move forward. So as you're going through this, you'll see a couple different things. We've already marked shall. Now this is from a brokerage standpoint. If you wanted to move this though, you could just move it because maybe your client says otherwise. Super quick and simple though, right? And then dates in here, we also have these that if we want as a brokerage, we can go through and have these pre-populated or asked for in the creation of your transaction, right? So just keep that in mind as we move forward. I would always suggest closing on a Thursday, except if it's a holiday. So just some extra notes in here, I guess. So let's say maybe we want to add an addendum to this, right? And we're in BoldTrail, we want to add an addendum. We're going to save and close. We're not going to send for signatures yet. It will save the document and we go back to click on this. We can edit or e-sign. And then all we have to do is hit back right here. From there, we can hit add forms or attach a document. Now there's two separate things. A document would mean you already have it pre-populated and filled out, right? In the forms section here, this is going to be anything that's a part of the UAR. So if we go ahead and click that, we'll see that we can go through our company library if we want. We can go through the UAR and maybe we know it's we know exactly what addendum it is. We can just type that in here and go to addendum to real estate purchase contract, right? Maybe it's the disclosure of interest, right? So we would do disclosure of interest addendum. We could just click that and it will have some of those things pre-populated for us. So we're going to go ahead and select that just for the training today. And then we're going to go ahead and click next. And it already has certain things in here for us. Now we don't, if we knew the buyer and seller, we could put them in here and it will pre-populate that for us. We're going to get rid of this, delete that, and delete this. Now it's only asking for seller number one because we've added it. It wasn't already in there. But if we have them as a contact, we can go ahead and add them here. So, and this is why we put in the email earlier. So all part of training. If you want to add that, you can, or delete them all entirely, you can. So we're going to remove from signers and just move forward. So go to the next, and we're going to scroll down until we see, let's see, until we see it. So go through and we can label this number one. Anyway, that's how I think everybody kind of knows how to fill it out from here, right? This is an addendum. We're going to put whatever you want here. And then fill out your dates, right? So disclosure of interest already has everything pre-populated. Go ahead and fill that out accordingly. And then when you're ready to send for signatures, don't save and close. You're going to click the little drop down arrow here and hit send for signatures. And sometimes maybe you want to take it to a client. You can print or download from here and do it at their house, whatever it is. I know some people have clients that want to sign it in person as well. So we can hit send for e-sign here, and it will give you a pre-populated kind of email form. However, we have templates in here, and you can just say contract signature or new buyer forms. So new buyer forms is the new buyer packet. Now I'll probably change that a little bit so that it's specific to each one and you know exactly what you're looking for. Let's say it's the contract for signature though. So we have these pre-populated as a brokerage and just want to make sure that it comes across the same from everybody, right? Now you can go ahead and edit these if you want. All we ask is that you don't edit the templates because these templates everybody can see from the brokerage side of things. And you can add templates. The easiest way though, it would just be to just tweak whatever we already have in here. So hello recipient name and then their role. So it'd be hello first time home buyer, their buyer one, right? So as we discussed over the phone, the contract reflecting the terms, this is all stuff we want you guys doing as you're sending contracts out. So we're going to make sure that you call them and talk them through each part of the contract, make sure that they know exactly what they're signing. And then we have a email that's addressing all of that. So I'm not going to send it because I don't know who this is. This was just for training purposes. But if you wanted to, you just hit this blue button here and hit send. So for now, I'm going to cancel that and move forward with save and close. So we can come back to that whenever we want. If you guys want to dive in a little bit more, we can. If not, not a huge deal. So as that saves. So that's kind of the gist of things from a buyer side of things. I did want to dive into this unsorted part of the documents. Now in our checklist, right, our buyer checklist here, you'll see that we have a pending side. This is everything that we're going to need while it's pending, as well as the disclosures are all below the disclosures section, miscellaneous, and the settlement checklist, right? Now, the very bottom of this is only for compliance, so none of us have to worry about this besides compliance. But if we scroll all the way to the top, you'll see that we have this opportunity checklist, right? And then right between the end of the opportunity checklist, we have this unsorted checklist that's already overdue. Now, as soon as we add something, I'll show you kind of what happens with this. So if we go to documents and unsorted, we can upload anything that wasn't a part of either a form that we already needed. Maybe we have some documents that we already loaded from the MLS. Maybe we wanted to do it that way. We can just go ahead and upload a file here. And we're going to say it's this addendum real quick. So we're going to, I don't even think you guys can see that, but it's going to load the addendum here, and then I can go through all of this as I want, okay? So as I do that, we're going to go back into the checklist real quick. And you'll see that it's not automatically uploaded, right? So if I go to unsorted here and it says all uploaded, all addendum, etc. So that's where we're going to put this. And as soon as in unsorted, this is a little backwards, I guess, but if you're in unsorted and you want to add this to a checklist here, we can make our own, right? So sometimes our transaction isn't going to be like a conforming checklist, right? Maybe it's going to be like um, a will. Maybe we need the will, or we need it's a trust document. So we're going to put trust documents in here because maybe the title was held in a trust, and we need that from the brokerage side of things to see who actually signs, right? We want to make sure you're in compliance and all the documents are where they need to be. So we're gonna go ahead and put trust document in here, save that. Now you'll see that it's gone from unsorted. It went to our checklist. So if we go back and click on checklist, you'll see that it's right under unsorted. So this is basically our own custom checklist, right? Anything we do in unsorted. Now, I didn't want to call it custom because it's in unsorted and that's where it comes from. And as a reminder of where it comes from, we've labeled it unsorted or created items, which when you're in unsorted, you create an item. So if you want to walk through that again, just for a refresher, we would add a document, upload it, click on the upload, and then we're going to assign to create new. And then another one, right? We can name this whatever we want. So save that, and then it will be in our checklist. So another one here, and trust document. Now, once they're in here, we're going to want to go ahead and submit them so that compliance can take a look at them, make sure that everything's there, make sure all the signatures are where they need to be, right? And or you can go ahead and submit everything you've uploaded for review, and compliance will also go in there and take a look. So this is just a little bit of like a peace of mind, I guess, for you guys. Like every time you upload a document, they're not going to be like right on top of you, like, hey, that's missing this, and getting after you. Sometimes we need more time and then let them know, hey, okay, now it's good. You can go check and get everything checked all at once, right? So I think this is a super neat feature in my opinion. So I don't know that there's much of anything else. Get a home inspection. You'll see that some of these say use forms and some of these say upload. If it says use forms, there's already a form attached to it. Makes it simple, makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to go searching for it. Late form, this will be uploaded by compliance. If you're late, if you don't have it in within 4 days, they'll upload it here and you'll have to get it signed. Confirmation of earnest money. You'll see that that's not a form that we have attached because it's going to be something that you get, right? That's something you're going to upload. That would be like a document that you upload in documents and then unsorted. You'd go ahead and upload whatever that is. Let's just do, I don't know, addendum 3. And then we would, obviously it's not addendum 3, but we could upload that to confirmation of earnest money. And then you'll see that it's loaded with confirmation of earnest money, right? And then up here, we're going to have 5 for review. We're not going to do that yet, just to kind of keep moving along. Lead-based paint is always going to be the same form. So we have that in form. So you just go ahead and click and then move forward, right? We've tried to take some of that guesswork out of it. For sale by owners, referral agreements, anything that we know that you're going to use more than once, we've tried to make it just that much easier to get to. So commission disbursement instructions. Again, anything you're going to use, it's going to be right there. So keep that in mind. And as you move forward, you can also switch this to maybe you're active, right? You're actively seeking to get your real estate purchase contract under contract. Once you go under contract, we're going to switch to pending. Now it's going to ask you for some deadlines so that we can make sure that those deadlines are being met, right? And it will also give you reminders like, hey, your due diligence is ready, right? Or it's coming up. So you'll have a activity and it will give you things to do, things to pay attention to, I guess. So let's say that's the 21st. Let's say this is the 26th, just for some get some dates out of here. This was owner of record. Record buyer was first time home buyer. We'll put a title officer in here and confirm. So now that that's in there, I want to go over the activity of the whole contract itself. If you're ever wondering, oh, did I do that, or who did that, or why is that missing? There's going to be some notes in here on everything that we've done, okay, since the beginning of this transaction. So you can see that I created it here, and then it works up from there. Everything time-stamped, who did what. Now, if compliance comes in here, or maybe you're a part of a team and they do something, it's also going to track that, right? And I guess I didn't touch on that, but you can also edit the whole transaction and add anything you want to it. If it was missing, like a closing date, a listing expiration, the buyer agreement, right? You can add all that. This is why it wasn't loaded in the contract for the buyer's license and brokerage. And if you're going to add a team member and or a transaction coordinator, maybe, or maybe a buyer's agent, or maybe whatever that is, right? You can do that here. So you just go ahead and go to action and then add user, and you can assign them whatever it is you're assigning them. So maybe you wanted your title rep to have access, right? You would bring them in here and say, here's my escrow officer, and then give them the name. Maybe you have a buyer's agent, right? Maybe you work on a team and you have a buyer's agent. So we're going to go ahead and add Daniel as a user, because if I put a contact in there, it won't work. So make sure you're adding the user and then just hit add. So that's that in a nutshell. You just want to make sure that you have the right contacts in here. Now, once they're in here, you're gonna see that they're able to do certain things. A buyer's agent has certain capabilities, right? User has access to this transaction. If you click on Mindy, it just says this contact has no access, right? So if you put in the wrong one, or they don't use this, it would be a little bit different. So your buyer's agent, your listing agents, whoever that is, should have access. A TC, if they don't have access, you can request access, you can revoke access. So there's a couple different buttons in here that we can help with all of that, right? So if we go to activity, you'll see that the buyer's agent's been added. Now, if the buyer's agent starts doing things in here, it's also going to track that, and everybody will be able to see that as well. So when compliance approves something, it'll say that in here. If they make a note, now if we're in the checklist and we're in the RepC, you'll see that we can put in notes in here. We'll just put notes in here just to kind of show you guys what that looks like, right? So we're going to comment We can mention Daniel because he's the buyer's agent, right? And then comment, and we'll see that in the activity. Now, if we go to activity, you'll see that there's notes in here and that we've added Daniel, right? So if you want something specific in a specific role, you can do that as well. Maybe you got a lead-based paint rejected, right? And someone put in here, maybe it was compliance, right? So you say, Kayla said something, you say, Kayla, I re-uploaded and should be good now. You'd be able to see that and comment that, right? Now, I don't want to bug her, so I'm not going to put that in there, but you could, right? And maybe it's exempt. Maybe you don't need lead-based paint because it's prior to that. You can just go ahead and hit exempt, and keep moving forward. So we'll see in activity that I've requested the exemption. Statics change from to do to exempt. So each little piece of this, if you're a little bit more detail oriented, you can go through and ask for those exemptions. You don't have to, but it will get done by the end of the time frame. So we're going to go ahead and kind of close out the buyer side unless anybody has any questions. And then we can start it from a sell side of things. So I can delete it because I'm an admin on here from the operation standpoint. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this because it says delete in here, or test, right? If you wanted it deleted, we would just ask that you put delete here so that from the admin side of things, we know that you want it deleted. Now, if there's documents in here and you hit delete, we're probably just going to archive it. We're not just going to go ahead and delete things. So make sure you put like test delete or something so that we know that we can just delete it. Now, if you're just wanting it archived, you can also say that as well. Like you want to keep all those things, so it maybe it canceled or something. You're going to hit cancel in here or archive or whatever you want, right? All that we ask is that you also upload the cancellation into the unsorted, which it kind of, I think it does go over that in the checklist. It says, if you click on this, it says upload cancellations here as well. So you would go to documents, unsorted, and then go ahead and upload that cancellation, right? For now, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. So now that we're back, this is from the dashboard, right? We're starting fresh, maybe from the selling side of things. We can look at it from a different perspective, right? We're no longer the buyer's agent, we're the seller's agent. And that comes with a whole new list of priorities and checklists, right? So first things first, we're going to hit transactions here, and then we're going to create a new transaction. So if you already have it uploaded in the MLS, that's great. You can actually search it from there and it will pull all your information. However, maybe we're starting fresh. Maybe we're starting from we're just getting a listing packet signed, right? And we're starting that. Sometimes it happens a little bit faster, but for now, we're going to say it's a residential listing and it's an opportunity. So we're going to hit opportunity. An opportunity from a listing standpoint would be the listing, right? So from here, I'm going to say I'm representing the seller. I'm going to say this is 123 ABC Street in South Jordan. And I don't know how many zeros that is, but I just kept pushing 0. So we're going to say it's a single family. And normally I would say you don't have to put in any of this unless it's red because you can't move forward without it, right? So earnest money deposit, this is obviously 0 because we don't have that yet. So I just want to show you that you can put zeros in here and move forward. Now, as soon as you get this, we can move forward and change that. But for now, we're going to put in whatever we have access to. So maybe you haven't negotiated the commissions yet. So we let you move forward. And I'm going to put me in here again real quick, just so I'm not bugging Kayla. For now, we would prefer everyone keep Kayla in there. If you're like the compliance side of things, whether it's Kayla or a different compliance person, just make sure that we have compliance as the office administrator, right? So for now, because we're testing things, we're gonna say it's op manager. And if we can move forward, we should. So now that we have $100 million listing, it looks like on 123 ABC Street, you'll go into residential listing checklist. Now, this is everything we need before we have it uploaded to the MLS, right? So you'll see that listing packet has forms, the ERS has forms, and the SPCDs has forms already. So if we wanted to, we could just hit use forms, and we already have the ERS and the wire fraud in here. Just hit next one more time, put in yourself as the agent and your seller. For now, we're going to put owner of record, and we're going to get rid of the second owner of record just to kind of show you what's going on. So we're going to hit next real quick, and you'll see that it pre-populated things where it needed to go. And this is the address. It looks like it's empty, but it's actually the address. This is the end date, so you can just go ahead and select a date here and move forward on all this, right? Now, we haven't gone through everything like the buyer side, but we can pre-populate this for you guys if you want as well to make it a little bit faster for everybody. It's a little bit different. Selling side's a little bit different, right? There's a little bit more nuances here as far as where we get information from and how we communicate with our sellers. So, but most of this, it's going to be is not, right? And there are going to be attachments or there are not. Now, wire fraud, you'll see, is already attached to this. And some people forget that, but wire fraud, there are not additional items unless you have an addendum to this, right? If an addendum is attached, the terms of that addendum are incorporated into this as well. So there has to be something outside of that to say that. So normally these are going to be checkmarked, and if you guys want those ready to go, you don't have to do it. We can do that for you as well. So wire frauds are already filled out. This one is for the second seller. Normally it would put whoever is down here, and then it would have a second set of signatures over here. So you could do that really quick and send it out for signatures. I mean, the leverage of this is you could do this on the phone, like maybe you forgot your laptop, and or maybe you just went to their house and you were hanging out and they want you to list it. You could have everything ready to go from your phone in roughly 5 minutes. You could have their house, you could have that ERS signed within 5 minutes and follow up the next day and get all the other information if you wanted. They've already had signature, right? So there's some power in that. Now, once you get this, we're going to download this just for grins and giggles so I can kind of show you how to upload that. So if you go to documents and unsorted, you can see that we can upload that file, the listing packet, okay? Once the listing packet's been uploaded, there's a couple different things we can do, right? For me, I would go ahead and split it because there's a couple different documents in there, right? So the ERS we know is 4 pages, so 1 to 4, and I can name that exclusive right to sell. So it'll pre-populate that for me, and then 5 to 5 is the wire fraud, and it will assign that to its own checklist, right? So we go ahead and split. Give it a second to do that, and then we go back into our checklist. You'll see that those 2 things have been uploaded for us now into the correct areas. Now, if we wanted to, we can just go ahead and submit for review, or we can keep moving through everything. I highly suggest getting your PR or your title report before going live. Now, you don't want to put in too much money into something if they have a whole bunch of liens and maybe they're upside down, and then you find out, you've put all this money into it, and then you find out that they're not going to make any money on this and they're not going to be able to pay you, right? So you're just going to be one more person in the line of people getting paid. So run the title report as soon as you get the ERS. Don't do a ton more until you find out that you have a clean title and or that you're going to be able to work through everything moving forward, right? Now there's some nuances to that, so that's not for everybody, but for the majority of it, that's what it will look like. Addendum to the ERS, you can also send out the SPCDs right here. So if you want to just go ahead and click use forms and click next, you'll see that you can put the buyer and the seller in here. Now we have a buyer in here because maybe sometimes you will have the like an unrepresented buyer, and those are already going to be pre-populated for you. But for now, we're just going to delete them, delete those, and because we have the seller in here, we're going to put owner of record. Next. And you'll see that it didn't have my seller's brokerage in here because I didn't do it correctly, right? So I'm going to go back and show you how to do that real quick. But owner of record, it's going to pre-populate this. And then when we send it, you'll see that these are checked for seller number 1. So whoever is maybe the detailed one, you're going to want to make sure that you're putting them as seller number 1. And that's why we don't have that pre-populated, because sometimes it might be someone else. Maybe we put in the wife or the husband, and we want to make sure that the wife or the whoever, right, is the one filling this out. And after that, we want to make sure that when we send for signatures, that we do that in the correct order. So because there's only one, we can't send out an order, right, for one to fill out and then the other one to sign. But if we did and we wanted to, we could save, and then we're going to go back in and edit it. So from here, we're going to edit, and we're going to add someone else. Because someone else isn't in there, we're going to have to add them, someone else, and they're going to be only to me, and move forward. Next. So now they're both in there, owner of record and someone else, right? So when we send for signatures, we can add certain recipients, right? And it looks like there's only one signer right now, right? So if we go back, we did it wrong. Save and close. And wait for that to load. And go back into edit e-sign. So we didn't add them correctly, other parties. So add signer here. Select another party. And we're going to add someone else. And then we can assign the order, right? So close that. And maybe we don't want to assign the order, right? Here's the hardest part is if we don't have the emails, it won't choose it, right? So we're going to have to go in and change them. So we can select someone else or remove from signers altogether, right? Let's say the same thing here, remove from signers. Now maybe there's no signers, right? But we need both of these. We can just hit reset forms and it will start all over. So the bonus thing is, if you ever feel like you messed up and you just want to start, it's a really quick and easy button, reset forms. And then from there, you can assign the order. So you can hit first time home buyer here. Maybe that's who we want. And then we want owner of record here and someone else. Perfect. And then hit next. It will all pre-populate and then send for signatures. Does that make sense? We're going to get rid of this guy. And it's red because it doesn't have the emails in there, right? So this one is saying it's going first. See how you can drag this? That's how you're going to get the different order. So this is saying it's going to the buyer first, which we wouldn't want that. And you'll see that you can't like click and drag it really from anywhere. So you have to be on the far left side of it and click and drag down to assign where you want it to go. So we're always going to want the first seller first because they're going to fill it out and then everyone else is going to sign and initial it saying that yes, that is correct. So you'll see that in here that this is seller number 1. And then you'll see this is seller number 2. So seller number 2 isn't going to fill out any of this. They're just going to initial it to say, yes, I agree to that, right? So because we can only assign a box to one person, we're going to want to make sure that that one person is the person we're filling it out. So make sure you're asking that before moving forward. So go ahead and save and close this just so that we can kind of keep moving along. And in here, edit, you edit your transaction. You can switch it from, right now it's opportunity, and you'll see that right up here, right by the street name. If we switch to active, it's going to ask for the reference date of when we went active, right? So this would be that they've signed the ERS. Now it's live, right? And is it built before? Yes. Maybe seller's names are owner of record again. Okay. Now you'll see that it just switched to active status. And again, if you went under contract, you could hit switch to pending and then so on, right? So now if you go back into your checklist, you'll see that you still don't have anything, right? Like this is the only checklist you have. It's not until you switch to pending that you'll see that other checklist. Here's the most crucial part of doing a listing. We need to select the right buyer, the right buying side, right? So it says buying side is represented by, well, we're the listing agent. So it's not represented by Realty HQ. It's going to be represented by existing company contact. Now, existing would be because we have a whole bunch of agents in there, but maybe it's not an existing company contact yet, right? So maybe it's a brand new agent and we're going to put them in there so everybody has access to them. So we're going to put we're going to put brand new agent here. Now, when we create it, we're going to make sure that everyone has access to it and we're going to make sure that they're an agent, right? So now it will be an existing company contact and they can be added to our contact list. Next thing is all the disclosure deadlines. Make sure that we're in compliance here. And owner of record and buyer is going to be first time home buyer. And we're going to select a title officer. So here's the deal. We have $100 million listing. Congrats. Or maybe I'm saying that wrong. That would be 100 billion. My apologies. I've been saying it wrong this whole time. So you'll see now that you have a separate checklist. And this is going to say residential listing under contract checklist. So this is everything that we need after we go under contract with a real estate purchase contract, right? So a pending checklist for the listing side of things is super small, right? We're going to get the contract and the earnest money deposit addendum, right? And if you're late, you're going to see that. Everything else is going to come from the buyer, and we're going to be uploading it to the unsorted or created items that we did earlier. So in unsorted, we're going to say we're going to upload addendum 3 again, wherever that was. But just for argument's sake, we're going to even call it addendum 3 when we create it. So we're going to scroll down over here on assign and scroll down to the very bottom to create new. And we're going to put it under the under contract checklist, and we're going to name it addendum 3 so that we know exactly where it is and we know that compliance has looked at it, right? So go ahead and save that and go back to your residential listing under contract checklist, and you'll see that it's right here, right? So you can go ahead and submit this for review. Kayla will see it, compliance will see it right away, and then we'll just keep moving forward. So look, and it's already signed. That's awesome. So just one more thing out of the way. So if you guys don't have any questions or comments on that, that's kind of how we would go through and do this whole thing. You'll see that some of these already have forms in there and we can upload other ones. I'm going to go ahead and end early because we have a sales training today after this. But thank you guys for joining. Again, this is being recorded so that we can all watch it later, and see you guys in the next one.